Hey everybody, I'm Benjamin, aka The Terrible Australian at Supermaster.com, and welcome to my video review of Australian director John Hillcoat's brand new film, the crime thriller 999. So let's get right into it. Now, I'm just going to say it right off the bat, I absolutely love crime films. It's a genre that I always seem to gravitate to, and no matter what type of film it is, I always find myself completely engaged by it. And in that way, 999 was definitely right up my alley, especially if it's sort of like cops versus criminals type of story, or sort of cops that are sort of corrupt, or even have criminals that have hearts of gold, and, you know, kind of stuff like that. And 999 is definitely a film that sort of follows the same kind of line as those. And I will state beforehand, while I don't think it's an amazing film by any means, but I still found 999 to be quite an engaging film in a lot of ways. I should say, because I think John Hillcoat, it was kind of interesting to see, because since John Hillcoat in the past has made really great films like The Proposition, The Road, Lawless, and they sort of had this sort of an interesting kind of vibe to them that sort of feel more sort of art house flavor in a way. But 999 is definitely, I would say, his most accessible film. This is a film that I would say that kind of shows that, like, even though it's definitely a film that's for the mainstream audience, but it still has that sort of grit and dark feel to it that all of his previous films have in the past. And this film is not afraid to go to those places. And this film is quite violent and very dark, and there are things that happen in this film that I did find really surprising in terms of where it went with its story, and as well with some of its characters. And I just found it really engaging, and I can understand that some people might be a bit put off by this film, mainly for the fact that, in a way, this film doesn't really have, I guess, quote-unquote, likable characters, and, like, most of the characters in the film, even the ones that were sort of the heroes of the story, are kind of not really all that sympathetic and not really all that likable, but to me that doesn't really bother me too much, as long as I think the characters themselves, regardless if they're likable or not likable, are still engaging, and the film itself is compelling. And to me, I just found the film to be both of those. I mean, I found the characters really interesting in this film, and I think all the cast did a really good job at their performances. Chiwetel Ejiofor, Casey Affleck, Kate Winslet, Woody Harrelson, Aaron Paul, Clifton Collins Jr. And the rest all did really good work in this film, and they all give really strong performances in their roles. And particularly Kate Winslet, who we get to see sort of in a very villainous role in this kind of sort of like a gangster role, which I thought was really good. And you can tell that she's just sort of, like, she doesn't play it over the top or anything like that. She brings sort of a nice kind of coldness, subtle coldness to her character, that you know that her character is very dangerous, and you can't sort of look away anytime she's on screen. And also sort of like the polar opposite, you got Chiwetel Ejiofor as kind of this criminal who wants to sort of give up the criminal life, but he keeps being pulled back in. And of course you got Casey Affleck's character, who's sort of like this cop who is sort of like finds himself on this case with Ejiofor and his gang, and sort of their sort of worlds collide. And to me, I just find that stuff really interesting, especially because it gives sort of the film sort of a cat and mouse kind of dynamic. And yeah, I just found quite good. And John Hillcoat, directs this film extremely well. It's definitely, as I said, it's very riveting, and it also brings sort of a gritty realism to it that I just found quite compelling. And as well as the score is really good. The cinematography, even though it's a bit shaky cam at times, is still pretty well done. And as I said before, the acting was really good as well. In terms of negatives, like I said, even though the film does offer some surprises here and there, the script is definitely not the most original. Like, there's some aspects where you can see coming, and also it sort of covers some ground that we've already seen before in other crime films or whatnot. And also, like I said, and also the films, and with some of the supporting cast, I felt with some actors who were very underused with their roles, particularly Teresa Palmer, Michael C. Williams, and also, Michael K. Williams, and also Gal Gadot, I felt were very underused in their roles. And also Norman Reedus was also underused in his role as well. And I kind of wish they were given more to do, but unfortunately the script doesn't really provide them with much. And pretty much, particularly with Teresa Palmer and Gal Gadot, who are kind of just given this kind of the doll wife / girlfriend type roles, and they don't really do much with them. But the other ones, like I said, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Casey Affleck, Winslet, Woody Harrelson, Aaron Paul, and that, they definitely have the more sort of interesting roles to play with, and they deliver with their roles. So overall, 999, it's not the greatest crime film ever made, but I still found it a really engaging film nonetheless, and it's a film that's really well directed by John Hillcoat, and it just shows that he's definitely is one of today's most underrated directors. He's just, no matter what type of film he touches, he always knows how to make it a very sort of, riveting experience from beginning to end, and I thought he did a pretty solid job at this film. Like I said, it's not one of his best films, but it's definitely a pretty solid film nonetheless. So, if I had to give 999 a rating, I give it a solid 3.5. So, yep, that's the end of my video review of 999. I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all later. See you, everyone.